like hilarious ways of saying the same thing.
Yeah, Red Badge of Courage, I'm definitely into. Let me see. There was another one that I heard recently, was it Surfing the Crimson Wave.
Oh yeah,
I
I
like
remember
that
that
one.
one. Yeah.
It makes me think of, okay, this is a throwback, so only people like who are in their late 30s and older will probably get this. But when I was a kid, um, Colgate and Crest both had kids toothpaste that were like blue and sparkly, and they were a little bit different. And I think it was Crest had like a dark blue sparkly toothpaste, and their commercials had this like toothpaste guy who was like, maybe he was like a rock star. I don't know. He may have had a guitar. I don't remember clearly. He was some kind of musician. He wore sunglasses and he was made of this blue gel that sparkled. And he was a surfer. And I think it was like maybe the art room in my elementary school. The teacher had one of those posters where like if you looked at it from different positions, it would look like it was moving or changing shape or whatever. And it was that guy on like a toothbrush shaped surfboard, and there was like a wave crashing over him and it said totally tubular. And like I must
Mm-hmm.
have stared at that thing every time I was in the art room for years because it's so seared into my memory. So
Yeah.
when I think of surfing the Crimson Wave, I imagine like an Aunt Flo figure, except she's like made out of blood.
Ooh, we should make our own poster.
Surfing on
Oh,
like a pad or something, you
we
know?
should make a sticker to give to people who like listen to our show. To follow, we'll make a sticker to give to people who follow us on Patreon.
Ooh, yes. You can get period stickers, people. Get on it. Um oh, and then there was another one I was thinking of, but it has escaped. Oh, the one
Oh,
that I think is the nicest is when people just say that you're on your moon because,
yeah,
the moon cycle.
a
That
moon
feels
time is
nice
one
to
of
me.
them. I always thought that Surfing the Crimson Wave sounded kind of like an Oasis lyric.
Oh God, yeah, like singing about periods in a whiny voice
Yeah.
with some acoustic guitar. I love it.
You know that if more men had periods, that there would be more Oasis like songs. Like there would be more acoustic songs about surfing the Crimson Wave.
Oh my God, you're right. And it would totally be like emo sad music. Like, poor me, my tummy hurts. And I'm allowed to complain about it because I'm a man.
Or punk rock music.
Yeah. Actually, if punk music really dealt with periods, I feel like period blood would be way more normalized in the culture by now. Because some punk acts got real weird about bodily fluids on stage as is. So like, I mean, not that it's normalized like doing nasty things with bodily fluids on stage per se.
I
But
do have to say that there is, and we should totally make a playlist for this, but there are PMS and period punk rock songs, including Blood in the Boardroom by Ani DeFranco,
mm-hmm.
My Red Self, Heavens to Betsy, Crimson Wave by Taco Cat, and Heavy and Bleeding by PJ Harvey.
Oh, I don't think I know that song. Oh, I gotta look that up. I love some PJ Harvey.
Yeah, we should have a period playlist. I think we definitely need one.
Oh my God. That gave me a flash to Dead and Bloated by
I am.
yeah. But like instead of Dead and Bloated, it'd be like
That's
Cramped
as
and
far as
Bloated.
that's as far as I could sing without having to pay for that song.
I am smelling
Nope,
like
that's
a...
it. Stop. Well, that's all.
Yeah,
That's all you can do. We don't have a
talk about what
budget.
it smells like. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, we don't have a budget for this show, so we can't go any further than that when we're singing any like major songs that we
Yeah,
don't.
true. Please don't sue us, Scott Weiland's estate, please.
Oh, they can't. We stopped in time.
So I actually did some looking into the etymology of menstruation because I started writing down like menarche is a terrible word and menstruation is a terrible word. Why do they both have men in it? Like, not, and this is not to say that some men do not have periods, but, you know, the vast majority of folks who have periods are not of the manly persuasion. So how come these two words both have men in it? And I discovered that, okay, number one, monarchy is from German, which the word monarchy came originally from Greek. The Greek word men means month. So it makes sense there. And menstruation came from late Latin and means the period of menstruation in the 1680s from the past participle stem of late Latin menstruare, from menstruus, which means monthly. So they're both from the same root, originally in Latin, but they took like different linguistic paths to come back into the English language, basically. So they both mean monthly, but the word man is from Old English by way of Proto-Germanic and not originally Latin. So even though they have men in those words, they are not related to the word man as we use it in English today. It's like less offensive to me than I thought it was going to be, basically.
Yeah. And I want to kind of add here that if you are Indigenous, you should totally take down the patriarchy by learning how to say menstruation in your language and then teach it to someone else.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to take back our own words for this and our own meanings for this.
I like that idea quite a lot. And I would love to know more about other cultures' ways of handling menstruation too, because in modern America, the way of dealing with it in the dominant culture is to try to pretend that it doesn't exist as much as possible, avoid talking about it, unless you're making fun of it or talking about how gross it is, and that it really, like we already said, like it divorces people from like the medical reality of like if there is something wrong and your period is causing you to have like medically significant negative outcomes in your life, like that needs to be addressed. And when we make it really hard for people to talk about it, we are prolonging their suffering and making it harder for them to lead a better life. Like just in the past few years, I have had, I think, at least 3 friends who are all under the age of 40 who were finally diagnosed with endometriosis after decades of like debilitating pain during and between periods. And it took them like on average between 10 and 20 years to find a doctor who believed them that there was something wrong so that they could take action to do something about it. Like they were suffering that entire time. And that is at least partly due to the fact that we don't talk about periods in a real way.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't.
Yeah.
I have been diagnosed with endometriosis, but nobody's ever done anything for me or for it since that diagnosis.
Shit.
So, you know, that was like the week after the twins were born when I was diagnosed with it. And they are 15 now.
Yeah. So they were just like, oh, you have this debilitating problem. Okay, deal with it. Bye.
Yeah, pretty much. Wow. Yeah, I think it's just so far back on my charts now that like most of the doctors don't even look at it. And I also like space it out all the time. I get so nervous when I go to the doctor that I forget to tell them like everything that's wrong with me.
Yeah.
I also, a lot of like indigenous cultures historically have thought of like the menstrual cycle is like a powerful time. And so I was never like really taught that it was like extremely negative. Okay, so like one time there was a little bit of my pad peeking out of the wrapping when I threw it away.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad freaked out and was like, you gotta hide that. And I was like, why? That doesn't make any sense. Like, women have those. Like,
You have to make this more comfortable for me.
Yeah, I don't need to make this. Yeah, don't. This isn't about you.
Yeah.
But I was like, always like, wow, that was such a strange reaction because I was like, always just been like, it's a thing that happens and, whatever. And I talk openly about it. And I'm always like, but it wasn't until like I was an adult where people were like, what are you talking? Why are you talking about that out loud? Like, that's gross. And so I like learned as an adult more than I did when I was a kid that it was like something that we need to keep quiet and not talk about. And not that it stopped me. I mean, it takes way more than that to stop me from. In fact, like I try and openly talk about it, like even around my kids, because I'm like, women have periods. That's the way it is. Don't be grossed out.
Right. Well, and the more that it's normalized to talk about it, I think the less scary it gets, just like with anything else. So that's the best way to go about it. But there is so much messaging just like floating around out there about how it's scary and it's gross. And
well, it's definitely scary. But like you were saying, like talking about it is so important that my own tribe, and there's like books that talk about life cycles for the Ojibwe people, for the Alaskan people, the Maori people have a bunch of literature out. I mean, it's not like there's tons of stuff from all kinds of culture, indigenous cultures all over the world that talk about this and talk about how when somebody got their period for the first time, there was a feed. A lot of times there were stories told. Oftentimes, like, even the father would go throughout the community in different cultures and be like, my daughter is having her period, Woohoo! And so by showing that this is a new, powerful, like, period in your life, that you are now a life giver and a person who holds power, was something that was normalized.
Huh. That sounds lovely. I feel like there's really a lack of like a lack of solemnity and really just like ritual and ceremony about major life changes, and like in the dominant culture, there are definitely lots of other cultures who do really cool things, around us, but it's not nearly as normalized. And that's actually like one thing that I have been noticing in the past few years is like the quinceañera that a lot of Latino cultures celebrate when a daughter turns 15.
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing more and more messaging just in the media that is normalizing that and making it into, just like rather than like, oh, only this group of people does that. It's more just normalized. And it's not exactly the same as celebrating a first period, but it is that like initiation into womanhood as a separate state of life and a separate state of like, coming into your power that I think is really great.
Yeah, definitely. And ultimately, like what we want to do in our orgasm is to get people thinking more deeply about like the role that patriarchy plays as a core value of colonialism.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking at like the attitudes that are there when it comes to menstruation.
Yeah.
And so women's knowledge was immediately downplayed when tribal people were colonized. And it was purposeful because if you take away not only tribal knowledge, but knowledge of power for women, then you can immediately like bestow that patriarchal system upon that community.
Right, totally. Like if you turn something that used to be like a special time of life into something that is scary and weird and gross and must be hushed up, that's like the first, well, not the first, that's a step toward, taking people away from a part of their life that could have been powerful for them, that maybe historically was powerful, but removing them from that by just making them embarrassed about it.
Absolutely. And a lot of this knowledge was passed along